my place, and I am welcome.
Well, good morning, everybody. Happy Sunday. It's Jackie here, and I'm speaking to you from my backyard. I just thought it'd be nice to be in the great outdoors with you, sharing the love of God and my message for today, which is entitled, Faith It Until You Make It. So let's begin. There you go. And my talk today is also based upon the Catherine Ponder book. Catherine Ponder is a Unity minister long ago, and her book, The Millionaire Joshua, Prosperity Secrets for the Ages. So it's a little story I'd like to share with you today. Faith it till you make it, using faith to overcome life's obstacles. So let me ask you this. Have you ever had a dream so big, so large, so magnificent that you did not know how you could do it? I'm sure you've had it. This dream was so impressive, so out there, that if you had actually told somebody about your thought in your dream, they would have told you, no, don't even bother. That's too out there. You're crazy. Go back to what you were doing and forget about it, right? Have you ever had those kind of times? And yet somehow that idea triggered within you a desire to want to achieve it. You didn't know how, but you wanted to go for it anyway. And so you spent a little time at it every day, texting somebody, phoning another, doing whatever it was, taking one step every day closer to get towards that big, insurmountable dream. And have you ever been working at that dream and come so close that you could just taste it? You got so close to achieving it, but something blocked your way? That there's this big obstacle in the way, a problem you can't solve, and you don't know what to do. And you're angry, you're frustrated, you want to cry, you want to beat something, you want to just either turn and walk away or just stop dead in your tracks. Have you ever had those times, right? And you question yourself. And you know, you really just have to turn to God for your source and supply. Well, this story, what I'm going to share with you today, this is all based on the story of Joshua. And you may be wondering, who is Joshua? The book of Joshua actually comes after the book of Deuteronomy. The book of Deuteronomy is the fifth book of the first 5 books of the Bible. The first 5 books have also been known, aptly called, the Pentateuch or the Torah. Now, in Deuteronomy, we have the character of Moses, who now realizes that his life is coming to an end. He's about 120 years old. He's been a faithful servant to God. He has freed the Israelites from slavery. He has taken them into the desert to survive for 40 years on manna. He's taught them spiritual ways. He's followed God's requests. He even went up Mount Sinai to collect the 10 commandments, and he brought them down for the people to lead them with rules about God's ways of living. So he did a lot. And in his final days, he climbed up to Mount Nebo, as he is doing here, and he looked out over the land. There's the Jordan River in front of him, and beyond the Jordan River was the land of Canaan, the promised land, the land where they would have their milk and honey. And he knew that he would never take them into it. It was his job to bring them just to the edge, and it was up to somebody else to take them in. And that person was Joshua. And so after Moses passed away, then Joshua took over, because God came to him and he said, Moses is gone. I now turn to you to lead the people into the promised land. Now, you'd probably wonder, who was Joshua? And why would God ask Joshua to do this? Well, metaphysically, Joshua means one who trusts in God. And Joshua was Moses' right-hand man. He was with him, oops, my paper. He was with him right from the beginning in the desert. He helped bring the Israelites into the desert. He stayed with them. He was there and he learned everything from Moses. He accompanied Moses as he received the 10 Commandments. So Moses was not alone. He had help. Joshua proved himself again as one of 2 spies who volunteered to go into the promised land and check it all out and report back that what the promised land was full of was milk and honey and vegetation and bounty and prosperity for all. He gave everyone so much hope. And as I said before, Joshua metaphysically means one who trusts in God. So it would be only apt for God to turn to Joshua and say, I choose you. Go forth and lead the people into the promised land. So when the time was right, our Joshua goes to the 40,000 Israelites. They're all camping close to the Jordan River at this point. And he says to them, prepare. For in 3 days, we're all going to go and cross the Jordan River and enter the promised land, finally. Now you can imagine all of their excitement, right? They have been dreaming about this for 40 years. They've been talking about it, sharing it with everybody. They've told all the little children for years about the story of them taking the promised land. So this was a big deal to them, obviously. And so what did they do to prepare? First of all, Catherine Ponder says in her book, they praised God and gave thanks in advance. So the first thing they did to prepare was to praise God and give thanks in advance for all the good that God has given them all this time and for the good that's coming for them. They already saw it and gave thanks for it. This group prosperity consciousness went a long way to their ultimate fulfillment. The second thing they did was to arise in their thinking and do something. Oops, click, click, and do something. They couldn't just sit on their meditation pillows and pray all day. They had to take action. So getting ready to move, what do you think they do? They packed their bags. They'd get rid of the things that they didn't need. They would lighten the load because they'd have to carry everything. They would cook maybe, right? Anything that they would do to prepare from a physical standpoint. And they also mentally did their forgiveness work. They cleared the clutter from their minds. And forgiveness work is key here. So what they did is they asked for forgiveness for any wrongdoings that they may have done knowingly or unknowingly to other people. They prayed and they asked for other people's forgiveness. And then conversely, they also asked for forgiveness for themselves from other people. If there was anything that they had done to harm someone or to hurt someone in any way, they asked for forgiveness. They wanted a clean slate, folks. They wanted to have a fresh start. And to do that, you've got to clear the clutter mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, and physically. From the book, Catherine Ponder states, success finds the people who prepare for it. Vast improvements come quickly in this situation. I love this affirmation. I now enter my promised land where I belong quickly and in peace. She also says in another affirmation, nothing can oppose my good. No one can oppose my good. My good cannot be withheld from me or taken from me in this situation now. With God's help, I now accomplish great things with ease. My good now appears in this situation in God's own wonderful way. Well, that just gets my heart stirring when I hear this. So the people walk and move to the edge and the banks of the Jordan River. Now, what do you think they saw there? Hang on, get a little windy here. They came to the water's edge with the promise of God. And here's what they see now. They see that the Jordan's banks are covered with tangled brush and dense growth all around it. It seems kind of impassable, especially when you come to think that we've got all generations here lined up at the banks. We've got the children, the babies, the mothers, the elderly. Everybody's there, including the priests and the 12 leaders of the 12 different tribes that are encompassing this group. And the river at this time is not just a trickling little river, folks. The Jordan River at the time was at harvest season, and the banks were overflowing with water. This was a huge setback mentally to the Israelites. How were they ever going to cross this thing? How were they ever going to get to the other side, to their promised land? This whole thing seemed impossible. So let me set the picture for you here. We've got Joshua at the water's edge, and behind him, as you can see, we have the priests who are carrying the Ark of the Covenant, God's law. And then behind the priests, we've got the 40,000 Israelites. And they're standing at the water, and the water's not moving. And if it were Moses, he would have taken the staff, stuck it in the ground, the waters would part like they did for the Red Sea, and the people would walk across. But Joshua is standing there, and nothing is happening. This is not good. Going back still. And this is causing a lot of pressure on Joshua. You can imagine his concern. God has promised that he was going to be with him. God has promised that he would make the way clear for the people. But the water isn't moving. The wind isn't blowing right now, right? So does he turn and go back and say, let's just give this up? No. In full faith, he takes a step into the water. He takes action. He gets his foot wet. And then he takes another step. And then he takes another. Still nothing is moving. You can imagine now the mumbling and the grumbling of all the people, right? They're starting to get their feet wet. We've got priests getting their feet wet. We've got the people getting their feet wet. And when it was Moses, they walked on dry riverbed. They didn't get their feet wet, but they're still walking in with pure faith. I'm sure Joshua's heart was pumping. I'm sure that his head was pounding and he's sweating and his hands were all, clammy, right? Wondering what he should do. But he kept going, folks. This is key. And then, before you know it, the mumbling and grumbling stopped. And instead, the people started to gasp in awe because all of a sudden, the waters started to part. With God, he moves forward in faith, and the waters are parting, the wind is blowing, and people are now cheering. They're so happy that they're now able to cross to the other side. People are laughing. He's so happy. And so the priests, in their jubilation, raise the Ark of the Covenant a little higher so that people can see it. and know that this is the way to go. This is the way to go to the other side. Oh, I went the wrong way. This is the way to the other side. Pretty good story so far, right? So now they're walking across the riverbed. They're cheering, they're happy, they're talking, and they can see the other side very clearly now. And isn't this interesting how it was the leadership of both, the similarity here between the leadership of Moses and Joshua, that both had a problem and both had a watery obstacle to cross. This whole epic moment really underscores that Israel's upcoming battles in the future are going to be accomplished not by military strength, right, but by God's power. So it really sends a clear message to everybody to keep the faith, doesn't it? As Catherine Ponder says, sometimes it takes standing on the edge of your obstacle in order to find your way out. So what challenge are you facing right now? What experience is causing you to just stop in your tracks and say, I just don't know what to do? But you stand strong in faith, knowing that with God there is always an answer. Right? With God there's always an answer, for there is a solution for every problem. Catherine Ponder says again, you must arise in your thinking and do something if you want to pass the barriers that have stood between you and your promised land. So you can see on the map here by the red arrow that this is the path that they were going, right? I thought that was kind of neat to see. Now, before they had reached the other side of the river, they have been told by God that they need to have each leader from one of the 12 tribes, one leader from each of the 12 tribes, to pick up a rock. Pick up a rock, and not just any rock. They were told to pick up a rock from underneath the priest's feet. That signifies an understanding, right? God commands this to happen because what they're going to do with the rocks now is they're going to take it to the other side and they're going to build a memorial. Isn't that cool? And what is a memorial? A memorial is a remembrance. It's a tactile structure that will show to everybody a legacy of the trials that they went through and the achievement that was made through this. And this is left for the children for years to come to witness and to remember what had actually occurred. Catherine Ponder says this moment proves his authentic leadership and says to everybody that claims, oh yes, with God you can turn a no way into a highway. So Catherine Ponder says that this moment proves his authentic leadership and says to everybody that claims his anointing that Israel's upcoming battles will be accomplished not by military prowess, but by the faith-filled strength of God's power. Know that with God, all things are possible. Anyway, with God, you can turn no way into a highway. So what did they do when they get to the other side? Well, they built the altar, and then they celebrated. They celebrated Passover. And they were able to eat the vegetation and the animals of the region. And they did that because the manna had stopped. And why did the manna stop? Because they didn't need it anymore. This was a new life, new opportunities, and they were so excited and happy. Celebration is so important, folks. When you have passed through your troubled waters and are on dry land, it's always important to praise and give thanks to God, your source and supply. It's so important to celebrate your victories, no matter how small. And by doing so, you're giving thanks to God, claiming your birthright as a divine, sovereign being. It should remind you of your magnificence. It reminds you of your connection to God and how with God all things are possible. It takes great effort to keep the faith until you've reached your promised land. So celebrate it. So Joshua proved that every obstacle on the path of the person who knows where he is going, that all the world is on the side of the man or woman who has a plan for rising into his good and then follows it. God demonstrated that he too was with Joshua as he had been there for Moses. And God is there for you too. Your dreams can be fulfilled with courage and faith reigning supreme. The big takeaway here is that God is with you all the time and is able to conquer every negative thought, situation with courage, faith, and with grace. And the basic ingredient of all of this is to do something. Take action. Take daily action. And as you get closer, it does happen. It takes courage and faith to face your fears. In everyone's life, there will be obstacles, but know that for every problem, an answer already exists. You got to faith it until you make it through your Jordan River. So whatever obstacle you're facing now, I invite you to step into fearless faith, knowing that with God, you are always guided, supported, and loved. And then watch the miracles occur in your life. Thank you very much.
Would you join with me in consciousness, please? Closing your eyes if this feels comfortable for you, and let's meditate. Taking 3 deep breaths in and out. Allowing the lungs to expand and relax. Dropping your attention from your head to your heart space. Allowing it to swell with your second breath. And like a wave in the ocean, allowing it to just release. One more in breath. Allowing all the cells of your body to fill with this exquisite life force energy. And then letting it go. And I invite you now to allow the words that I speak to be the words of your very own heart. And if they resonate with you, just breathe, relax, and trust in the divine process. Dear God, I know that the first step in all spiritual healing is to believe. I believe. I open my mind and heart, believing in your infinite power and possibility. I believe that healing is a dynamic and reachable experience, a reality that can be experienced right now. I maintain a patient and loving attitude, for I believe that your healing activity is now at work in my mind and body. I look forward with joyful expectation to the perfect wholeness that you are now bringing into manifestation through me. I rest in the certainty of your power. And I know that my success is guaranteed. I know that with you, all things are possible. For the creative intelligence continues to sustain me and inspire me every minute of every day. With you, dear God, I move forward in faith. With you, dear God, I prepare to receive my good. With you, dear God, I just know beyond a shadow of a doubt that vast improvement comes quickly in this situation. For whatever obstacles I have in front of me now, they vanish as I now enter my promised land where I belong. I am free and I am unlimited. Nothing can oppose my good. No one can oppose my good. My good cannot be withheld from me or taken from me. In this situation now, with God's help, I now accomplish great things with ease. My good now appears in every situation in God's own wonderful way and in God's wonderful timing. I breathe, relax, and trust in the divine process. And I know my success is guaranteed. And as I pause for a moment in the silence, I reflect on these words. Taking a big, deep breath in, breathing out, giving thanks to God for this new day, its beauty, its light, and for the opportunity to begin again, freed from the limitations of yesterday. When you're ready, open your eyes, wiggle your fingers and toes, and come back to me now. May God bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious. Have a wonderful week, everybody. Bye-bye.